First thing people ask me is, Chris, what is this all about? What's happening out there? I guess the first answer would be, it's about filling a void. The second answer is, well, we've embarked upon an amazing journey to build an impossibly beautiful, cooperative community in the Rocky Mountains of Montana. An organic community with art, music, dance, nature, healing, and creativity as the common thread. A special place that can quite literally be thought of as a home away from home for those that get involved. The next question is, so where is it? Well, I say to this, it's about as far from everything as you can imagine. An area so remote that many Montanans have yet to discover it. But to be more exact, Thunderhead is located on 60 gorgeous acres in the middle of a national forest deep in the mountains of central Montana. We're not leasing these acres or renting them, we actually own them. As much as any man can own any bit of land that lies in the mountains and the forest. Those mountains would be the Little Belt Mountains of the Rocky Mountain chain, and that national forest would be the Lewis and Clark National Forest. The nearest town that is on a map is about 12 miles to the west. That town is the historic mining town of Monarch, Montana. Thunderhead itself could be considered part of Hughesville, which is another historic mining district now home to about 20 part-time residents. But you won't find Hughesville on most maps. The nearest big city with a commercial airport would be Great Falls, Montana, which is about 1 hour northwest of Thunderhead. Montana can in certain ways still be thought of as the Wild West, as it has 3.5 million acres of wilderness areas, which doesn't include the massive Glacier National Park and a portion of Yellowstone National Park, both of which are less than 4 hours drive from Thunderhead. But while the state is massive in size, it is the fourth largest state in the U.S. behind Alaska, Texas, and California. It is the 44th most populated state, with less than 1 million people in the entire state, which is roughly 7 people per square mile. New Jersey, on the other hand, leads the 50 states with about 1,185 people per square mile. Anyhow, the point is, Thunderhead will give you quite a different perspective on many things, and the most obvious revelation for me was my relationship to animals and nature. Let me just sum up this mini chapter by saying that once you are literally surrounded by nature, and Thunderhead is quite literally virtually surrounded by tens of thousands of acres of wilderness, and you spend some time there, you will quite literally get your mind blown in a beautiful way on a regular basis by all kinds of things you never dreamed of, both large and small. I'm not Dr. Dolittle or Grizzly Adams, but let's just say I have some friends out there of the non-human variety, and some like to sing with me at night when I play guitar around a campfire. Then the next thing people say to me is, well, I'm sure it's beautiful and all, but do you have structures out there? What kind of amenities do you have? So to answer this, I say we have 5 permanent structures now, 2 more underway, 2 hot showers, another on the way, 3 composting toilets, another on the way, and 8 beds inside heatable structures. Not too bad for a budding retreat which had nothing but raw land just a few years ago. But to be sure, Thunderhead is in its infancy, and the infrastructure to host large groups of people is simply not there yet. I think we had 17 people at once spending the night, which filled all our beds indoors, and then we had about 5 or 6 tents being used. Incidentally, Thunderhead has lots of extra tents and sleeping bags and foam pads, so people don't necessarily need to bring all of their own camping gear if they want to camp. So the 5 structures we have are a 10 by 16 mini storage barn. It stores our tools, generator, lawnmower, mini 4-wheeler ATV, recreational equipment, extra tents, etc. And the loft stores the pine logs to be cured and used the next building season. We were also donated a mobile home that is shown here. It had some snow damage one winter, but has been brought back to life with an internal log frame and is heated with one large wood stove. We've also acquired a very nice 30-foot hardshell camper trailer, which is now a permanent structure at Thunderhead. It is connected to power and has a fully functional kitchen with a propane stove, an oven, and hot water. It also has a hot shower in the small, slightly cramped bathroom. Our first handmade structure is the beautiful cordwood cabin. It sleeps 3 and is heated with a small wood stove. It uses recycled bottles in the walls and has a living roof. That's right, there's grass and flowers and herbs growing on the roof. It is not connected to power and probably never will be, as it is easily lit with a few candles or lanterns. It also has a piano and a drafting table in it. I'll talk more about the cordwood masonry style of building in a moment. Our fifth completed structure is our beautiful hand-built cordwood shower house with a fully pressurized hot shower, a sink with hot and cold water, and a composting toilet. It has a unique self-contained system that I devised that is powered by a 12-volt motorcycle battery, one small solar panel to keep that battery charged, a 12-volt RV water pump, a small propane water heater, a 5-gallon propane tank, and a 50-gallon outdoor water tank, which also utilizes rainwater collected from the roof. Cordwood masonry is our building method of choice at Thunderhead for many reasons. First of all, the structures cost very little money to build, and they leave less of a footprint because they can utilize a living roof. They have amazing insulation properties, and the thermal mass of the structures keep the indoor temperature unbelievably constant throughout the day and night. And lastly, they are simply gorgeous, and pine is the perfect wood for the walls. And lodgepole pines are our #1 natural resource. They grow fast and tall and plentiful, and many of the trees we use are ones that have simply been blown over and have yet to rot. The first step is to peel the bark, which is what we are doing here. This is done quite easily if the trees are very green. It's quite another story if the tree has been dead for a while and the sap acts as a very effective glue when it dries. The second step is to dry the wood for at least 6 months to a year. This prevents shrinkage once the wood is put into the walls. Then the logs are cut into pieces all the same length according to the thickness of the walls. The cordwood cabin has 9-inch thick walls, and the shower house has 7-inch thick walls. Then some of the pieces can be split with a splitting maul, or they can be kept round. The first 2 cordwood structures utilize both rounds and splits. Our third cordwood structure, another shower house, is being built using all round logs to give it a different look. Then the building commences. We mix our mortar mix all by hand to keep the building site peaceful and to be able to have quality control of each batch of mortar. It is also damn good exercise. The mortar is made of sand, lime, Portland cement, and sawdust that has been soaked in water overnight. The soaked sawdust slows the setting in the mortar to give you lots of time to work with it. Recycled bottles are introduced into the walls, and it is quite fun to get creative with the designs. It is what I call a poor man's stained glass effect. A little bit of money goes a long way at Thunderhead. The cordwood cabin costs less than $10,000, including a poured concrete slab foundation. The first cordwood shower house was under $3,000 all inclusive. The last structure we have yet to mention is our mini log cabin built in a traditional notch style. It is perhaps 1/4 complete, and so far we have spent all of about $150 on it. A large portion of that was spent on used railroad ties, which combined with a bed of pea gravel from the property acts as the foundation. This video you're seeing here is Garth Greenup and I working on the notches for this log cabin. We are also already breaking ground on the first communal structure at Thunderhead, the 2-story round cordwood commons. Some of the money we hope to raise tonight will go towards continuing progress on this structure. The blueprints are in hand, and it will be modeled after the roundhouse at Earthwood in upstate New York, built by Rob and Jackie Roy, who taught me everything I know about cordwood masonry. So then people usually ask me, so what's a typical day like at Thunderhead? Well, it varies a lot from day to day, but we try very hard to keep a balanced mix of work, play, personal time, and exploration. Activities include clearing trails, peeling logs for the cabins, building the cabins, hiking, swimming in our nearby swimming hole, playing horseshoes, frisbee, or wiffle ball, resting or reading during siesta time, jamming around the almost nightly campfire and counting the shooting stars, or simply exploring the thousands of acres of wilderness which surround us. In August, we spend time picking wild huckleberries, raspberries, chokecherries to make pies and jam with, and some wild onions to make some wild onion soup with. Thunderhead will evolve as fast as people are able to devote time to building it. Right now we need human resources more than we need financial resources. But in order for some of the larger structures to come into existence, we will need more financial resources as well. I'm hoping to make Thunderhead's evolvement as organic as possible, with everyone who gets involved making their ideas as to how to make it grow and make it better very relevant. Truly a group vision as much as that is possible. My dream is that Thunderhead will become a year-round operation where members can come whenever they want to and stay for very little or hopefully no money to refocus on their art, take a break from their art, recreate, relax, rehabilitate if necessary, and perhaps most importantly, have the opportunity to collaborate. I also envision an incredibly diverse and lively summer festival where members invite many more to come and share and be a part of Thunderhead for 3 to 5 weeks. I spoke of filling a void in the beginning of this video. I actually meant this quite seriously. I see a growing lack of nurturing and valuation of artists in this country. If you don't have a big hit or have just won American Idol, fewer and fewer entities are willing to invest money in you. Artists must work more and more hours outside of their preferred field just to pay the rent. This leads to less collaboration and experimentation. It also leads to intense focusing on one area of your art to try to get ahead of the pack in a much more competitive environment as opposed to a more nurturing, forgiving, all-inclusive environment, which leads to a more creative and collaborative environment. While New York City has a very high concentration of musicians, dancers, and visual artists, it has become a pressure cooker that segregates us unnaturally. Other big cities are very similar to New York City in this sense. Thunderhead provides an escape. But make no mistake, Thunderhead is a working retreat that will be built by adventurous creatives for adventurous creative types. If you wait to come to Thunderhead until it is completed, then you will most likely have waited too long. If you want to come to Thunderhead soon, but don't plan on getting your hands dirty, then this is probably not a project you should get involved with. There are plenty of other non-working retreats for that. Part of the Thunderhead experience will be about learning alternative building techniques and learning how to apply alternative energy systems. The Thunderhead community will necessarily have to limit the amount of members at some point, but right now we are still actively seeking members. Being a full-time artist is not a prerequisite. All we ask is that you are a lover of the arts and fall under the category of works well with others. How does one become a member? Well, we have a nominal sign-up fee of $100 and then a very nominal $35 a year dues payment. A family membership is a $100 sign-up and a $75 a year dues payment. Thunderhead will eventually be the host of different types of workshops, yoga retreats, and even cordwood masonry and possibly tiny house building workshops. Those that get involved will be the ones to decide upon and plan these various workshops. One of the first workshops that I would like to see happen is a jazz French horn camp, 1 week in length. I hope to make this a reality in the next 2 or 3 summers. Every summer we have a 2-week camp fest where we try to coordinate schedules for a more communal experience, with a 2 to 3 day camping field trip to a nearby exotic destination such as Yellowstone National Park or Glacier National Park. This summer's camp fest is tentatively scheduled for the first 2 weeks of August, and people are of course free to come and go during that time. Campfest is free to everyone who is willing to camp, and as I said before, we have lots of extra tents and sleeping bags available. Project already attracts a certain type of individual, and they have come from all over the world. A singer-songwriter named Kat Towers from London, to a yoga instructor named Agni Georgina from Edmonton, who has spent a large portion of her life teaching yoga in Kathmandu, to a weld artist named Jill Torberson from Portland, Oregon. Thunderhead is not for everybody, nor may the time be right for some people to get involved just yet. It is also not cheap to get to Montana, although it is a perfect destination to use some frequent flyer miles. I've also seen flights for $400 to $450 if you poke around and do some homework. But once you are there, it is free for members and first-time guests, and we will pick you up in Great Falls. We will simply pool some money for groceries and cook some hearty communal meals. The last 2 summers we have averaged about 30 people coming through Thunderhead and staying anywhere from a few nights to up to a month. We have had as many as 17 people there at the same time, and at that point, all 8 beds were filled and 5 or 6 tents were employed. Coming to Thunderhead does take quite a commitment of time and resources, and for that first trip, quite a leap of faith that it will be worth it. Please take some time and perhaps talk to some of the people who have been there and ask them if the trip to the Northwest was worth it, and would it be worth making on a more or less regular basis. There are many of them here tonight. In many ways, Thunderhead is still a canvas waiting for the artists to bring the painting into its full glory. The journey has begun, however, and it has already proven to be a magnificent, inspiring one, full of newfound friends and old school knowledge, mixed in with the awesomeness and surprises of Mother Nature and the healing vibrations of being in the middle of the wilderness. A place to refocus and or decompress. Thunderhead will be a home away from home for those that get involved. It will also be a lifelong journey of awakening and enlightenment in many ways, whether you're actively seeking it or not. There's simply no avoiding it. Tonight, I invite all of you to join us on this journey.